Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. Today I'm presenting AB 30, the California Racial Mascot Act, which will prohibit public schools in California from using the derogatory racial slur Redskins as a school or athletic team name, mascot, or nickname. Thank you. AB 30 will mitigate the cost by allowing schools to continue to use their uniforms and other materials that were purchased before January 1st, 2017. But after that, schools will be required to gradually phase out any materials or uniforms by replacing as needed with a new mascot. However, prior to January 1st, 2019, the school may replace up to 20% of their old uniforms in order to further mitigate cost. Many universities and school districts in California have already taken the lead to remove offensive Native American mascots voluntarily. The term Redskin is a racial slur, plain and simple, and this bill is a fair measure to help phase out its use in our public schools. I respectfully ask for an aye vote. This bill passed out of the Assembly Education Committee and the Arts and Entertainment Committee with bipartisan support. I ask for the same today.
Thank you very much. Witnesses in support.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. Curtis Natsana with the Yochadihi Wintun Nation. Also on behalf of ALARM, the Alliance Against Racial Mascots, of which Yochadihi is a steering committee member. We recognize that public schools are still dealing with a number of budget issues. However, we feel that the phasing out and the phasing in approach that this bill takes is a very constructive approach to addressing any fiscal issues. We also want to note that the scope of this bill includes 4 California high schools, and so with that, we respectfully urge your aye vote.
Thank you very much. Any other witnesses in support from the audience?
Nora Lynn on behalf of the California Faculty Association in support.
Thank you very much. Are there any witnesses in opposition? Seeing none. Department of Finance?
No file.
No file. Any questions from members? Mr. Aleo, I have a question for you. Recognizing that of the 4 high schools, 2 of those high schools happen to be in my particular district that I represent. Kind of noteworthy. Anyway, I did want to pay particular attention, and maybe you could clarify once again, how are these schools going to recover the costs? There may be significant costs with respect to embellishments or mascot motifs put on the floors, the walls, stadiums. These are very high dollar, high cost facts. How is the state going to pay for these changes? Also, maybe even everything from down from letterhead, jerseys, all of the above, the plethora.
Well, the fiscal analysis in this committee puts the cost at a very minimal cost overall. And furthermore, when this bill was first, last sent to the governor back in 2005 under former Assembly member Jackie Goldberg, 2 other schools voluntarily made that change that used to use this derogatory racial slur. They phased it out. Minimal impact on costs to those school districts. But just like many other universities, including Stanford and other schools, they phased those out, and in retrospect, they look back and realize they did the right thing. But from what we can see, not in hypotheticals, but looking at what other schools have done, it's been very minimal cost by allowing a proper timeline to phase out its use.
I just speak from the rural schools who are fairly short on dollars. In fact, got disproportionate in the state budget, so it may be more challenging for them than maybe some of these other schools. So I was just wondering if there's. But
the other 2 schools were rural school districts that did the same.
Thank you. With respect to that, maybe there's a way that we can look at how we can maybe help them in some funding. I think your idea, your proposal is reasonable. I'm just looking for a solution for that.
My witness would like to address that cost concern.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As the author stated, the cost for schools to change this has been minimal, as we've seen in a number of examples. A lot of equipment, such as jerseys, letterhead, those kinds of things are often replaced on a regular schedule. Nothing in this bill forces that change overnight. And so, when new letterhead is ordered, when new jerseys are ordered, those types of things, this bill allows that to be phased in. And also, there could be larger costs for things such as gym floors or signage, marquees, those kinds of things. But again, nothing in this bill requires those to change. So if and when those schools do replace, for instance, the gym floor, they would be able to do so on a regular schedule.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you. Well, this bill has a do pass recommendation. But there is a B roll from the Republicans with myself and Ms. Chang not voting.
Okay.
So your bill is out.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Okay. If I could just put out, for those that are listening, we are still looking for authors: Mr. Chow, Mr. Hernandez, Mr. Mullen, Mr. Salas, Mr. Stone, and Mr. Williams. And Ms. Irwin, you're up. You have a couple of bills, Ms. Irwin. You have one on consent.
Yes, I do have one. Thank you, Mr. Chair. AB 1045 requires that Cal EPA and Cal Recycle work together to establish...
Move the bill.
All right. Well, I'm sure I have some experts with me if they would like to say something very short. This is about streamlining the process to meet our goals in a more effective manner.
Very good. Witnesses in support.
Katrina Robinson, on behalf of John Wick, co-founder of the Marin Carbon Project, I will streamline my testimony and ask for your aye vote.
Yes, sir.
Californians Against Waste. We often talk about breaking down silos so that agencies work together. This bill actually directs agencies to do that. This is a case where there's one industry that's both regulated and promoted by all the departments under Cal EPA, and this tells them to work together towards a mutual goal of diverting organic waste. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other witnesses in support from the audience? Witnesses in opposition? Seeing none, Department of Finance.
No file.
Questions of the author from members? Any questions? If not, this has a do pass recommendations. All Republicans not voting. You're out.
Okay, thank you.
How's that? Ms. Eggman. Ms. Eggman, you have AB 647. The floor is yours.
I do. Thank you very much.
Move the bill.
Thank you. I will begin by saying I accept the amendment and ask for your aye vote on AB 647, which seeks to address the needs to recharge our state's aquifers, which face the threat of salinity intrusion and subsidence due to chronic years of overdraft. I have a witness with me, but they'll be brief.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Karen Lang on behalf of the San Joaquin County Board of Supervisors. We strongly support this bill. Unfortunately, there's a drought right now, so we don't plan on using it immediately. This is for the next drought to be able to recharge the aquifers in San Joaquin County. We urge your aye vote today. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeannie Zalezi, General Counsel for Stockton East Water District. We just think AB 647 is a step in the right direction to make groundwater recharge a beneficial use, to be consistent with the emphasis in this state upon groundwater sustainability. We want to let you know that we continue to work with anyone in opposition, including Metropolitan Water District, Westlands. We had a very good meeting yesterday with the environmental interest, and our intention is to address all concerns so this bill can move forward because we think it's very important. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there other witnesses in support? Seeing none, witnesses in opposition?
Mr. Chair, members, Ed Manning on behalf of Westlands Water District and San Luis Delta Mendota Water Authority. We are in opposition to the bill today. We think our recommendation is to hold this bill. While the proponents make this bill sound like it's a minor change, this bill is a dramatic change in water rights law in California. In the history of California water law, the mere act of storing water underground has never been considered a beneficial use. This law would change that, and that has dramatic impacts potentially on the entire water system. Let me give you an example of how this bill would work right now. During this drought, there are releases from storage from the Central Valley Project and the State Water Project for the environment. Every time we're releasing water from storage right now, that's water that's not available next year. It's not available for agriculture. It's not available for water use for residential communities, for commercial activities. Under this bill, someone could take water, put it into storage, not beneficially use it under current law, and we would then have to release more water from storage, which means less water available for other people. It also changes the burden of proof. When you say it's a beneficial use now, that means the burden now becomes on the state project contractors, the Central Valley project contractors. They have a burden of proof at the Water Board to show harm. That's not the current law, and it hasn't been the law for a reason, because it has significant implications. Now, we did offer amendments to the proponents, which were rejected yesterday from our water lawyers, and essentially the issue comes down to when is it appropriate, if ever, to store water to say the mere storage of water is beneficial use. You're not using it for irrigation right away. You're not using it for domestic purposes. You're just putting it into the ground. When there's excess water in the system, a wet year, no one is harmed by putting water into storage. So this bill has to be significantly limited to periods and only periods when there's excess water in the system. Otherwise, there are winners and losers, and the losers will be the state and federal project contractors and potentially the environment. So this is a significant bill. We would love the opportunity to sit down with the author and work through these amendments. We raised similar concerns in the policy committee. Everybody's been busy. We understand that. But we would like to have that opportunity before the bill moves to the floor if possible. Thank you, and we hope we can work this out.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Kathy Cole with the Metropolitan Water District of Southern California. Just about 2 weeks ago, our board directed staff to oppose AB 647 unless amended. Coming out of the policy committee, I will say there were some amendments made to the bill that certainly improved and addressed our concerns, but there are significant problems with the bill that remain, as my colleague outlined. The bill must align with the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act, which was a historic action that you all took last year to manage groundwater statewide. In addition, in its current form, as my colleague mentioned, the bill could harm legal users of water downstream. And that would impact communities that we serve drinking water to, agriculture, the environment, during certain hydrologic conditions. There's got to be some due process and opportunity for those who may be harmed to weigh in. So the recent amendment that was suggested and accepted by the author acknowledges the do no harm principle, but it is intent language. We would like to see that in operative language. We are also meeting with Ms. Eggman and her sponsors tomorrow to discuss further changes to the bill. As a sign of good faith, I will not object to the bill moving out of committee today, but if we can't find middle ground with the author on amendments in fairly short order, I'm going to come a-knocking on our legislators' doors to urge your no vote on the floor of the Assembly. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Is there any other opposition from the audience? Seeing none, Department of Finance.
No foul.
Were you wishing to testify?
I don't think the microphone's on. Sorry, I was late in another committee. Kathy Christian, Contra Costa County Board of Supervisors, Delta County, and strong support of the bill.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Just in case there's anybody else that came in late, because there is a lot of other committees and people having to run, was there anybody else missed on the support side? Seeing not, bring it back to the Department of Finance. Didn't have a comment. Members, is there any questions from any members? Mr. Quirk.
So I'm very much in favor of using the storage we have already, which is immense, which is underground. It's clearly, to me, a beneficial use. And I am willing to say that you want that water stored at a time when there is excess water available. Can you see a way forward to the sort of amendment that they're asking for?
We are continuing to work with the opposition. We offered intent language yesterday that we don't intend to hurt anybody, and this does not change anybody's water rights. This does not change anybody's access to what they're supposed to take. This just allows that same right that people have to be able to store it underground for times like this, when the aquifers would then be charged, and we wouldn't have to be taking excess water that now can be going downstream. And I can respond further, but I would just remind the committee that this is a fiscal policy, and we've gone over a lot of this in the policy committee.
All right. Thank you very much. I'll be supporting the bill.
Thank you.
Any other members? If not, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Ms. Engman, thank you so much for taking the amendment. And I recognize that this is a fiscal committee, and at times we are put in that position to negotiate some of those other issues. However, with this amendment, it pretty much gives a bright red line that says there's an outstanding issue, and I think you understood that, and some of your opposition understood that some things still have to be worked out as it goes to the floor. But I have no doubt in your sincerity of trying to work that out. I thank you, and as everybody knows, that once we pass a bill out of here, doesn't mean that you're fixed or your hands are tied on voting for this on the floor. So, Ms. Eggman, thank you so much for being your willingness to work on this issue with us. Thank you.
Thank you. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you very much. This has a do pass recommendation as amended with Republicans not voting. Jones is a no vote. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bigelow, for chairing the committee. You did an excellent job. Did all the heavy lifting. Mr. Chow, you're here. You have 4 bills with us: 1 on suspense, 2 consent, and 1 due pass recommendation. How would you like to proceed?
That's correct, Mr. Chairman. And the only one that I'll be presenting is AB 745. If it pleases the chair and members, AB 745 would promote greater coordination of supportive housing with mental health services by adding a member.
Second.
Thank you. To the Mental Health Services Oversight and Accountability Commission, who has practical experience providing supportive housing to persons with severe mental illness. Adding a member with supportive housing experience to the board would further encourage the proven method of using supportive housing as a tool to reduce homelessness. With that, the cost of the bill will be minor and absorbable. With that, I respectfully ask for a vote.
We have a motion and a second. Any witnesses in support? Individuals from the public in support? Witnesses in opposition? Individuals from the public in opposition? Department of Finance?
No file.
No file. Questions or comments from the committee members? Seeing none, this bill is out on an A roll call. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Williams, you are up. Mr. Williams, you have 3 bills with us, 2 on consent and AB 864 due pass with amendments to add a state mandate disclaimer.
I will only present on the one that are not on consent. And Mr. Chair and members, I want to start off by accepting the committee amendments. This bill gives solid waste local enforcement agencies the option to issue temporary permits for solid waste operations under the guidance and regulatory authority of Cal.
Second.
LEAs would be required to shut down operations carrying out recycling activities if the material they handle exceeds the 10% solid waste limits. This bill is needed as cities and counties undertake greater efforts to achieve the 75% goal. Ask for your aye vote.
We have a motion and a second. Witnesses in support.
Mr. Chair, Josh Malone, on behalf of the local enforcement agencies, the local environmental health folks that actually issue the permits under the guidance of Cal Recycle, we understand that we got to do some minor adjustments to the bill to ensure that nobody gets out of jail free. But this is a really good government issue, and we urge your aye vote. Thank you.
Nick Lapis with Californians Against Waste. We're in support. This simply reinstates an existing program that sunset in 2010. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any other witnesses in support? Individuals from the public in support? Witnesses in opposition? Individuals from the public in opposition? Department of Finance?
No file.
Thank you so much. Questions or comments from the committee members? Seeing none, this bill is out on a B roll call.
Thank you.
We're going to have Mr. Quirk present AB 1506 on behalf of Assembly Member Hernandez.
So, some years ago, a bill was passed to...
we have a motion and a second.
The bill was passed to specify waiting time penalties as they relate to theatrical employees. The bill would simply make technical changes as a cleanup to make sure that all codes are consistent. I ask for your aye vote, and I have a witness here to answer questions should they arise.
Thank you, Mr. Quirk. Any witnesses in support? Individuals from the public in support? Witnesses in opposition? Individuals from the public in opposition? Department of Finance?
No file.
Questions or comments from the committee members? Seeing none, this bill is out on a B roll call.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Stone, did you catch your breath? you have two bills before us. AB 206 is on suspense, and you waived presentation on that one. And
Yes.
then you have the other bill on
AB 666.
due pass recommendation. That one.
Thank you. That one. And I apologize for being a little out of breath. I designed my morning around a typical Approps hearing. You are just cranking, so kudos to the chair.
Move the bill.
And thank you. Well, this is a cleanup bill.
See what you get when you have Republicans running things?
See?
Just saying.
This is a cleanup bill to a bill that Leno had a couple years ago on sealing of juvenile records. That bill passed. There were some concerns raised in the implementation of that bill. This bill is intending to clean that up, working with all the stakeholders on it for the Approps analysis, though the costs really are minor and absorbable, and I appreciate an aye vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stone. Any witnesses in support?
Very briefly, David Steinhardt for Commonwealth, sponsor of the bill. We need this to assure even implementation among the courts. Costs as identified in the analysis are minimal. Judicial Council rules and savings by avoiding having hearings on petition cases. So urge your aye vote.
Thank you so much. Any other individuals in support from the public?
Yes, Kim Lewis representing the California Coalition for Youth and AspiraNet in support.
Thank you so much. Witnesses in opposition? Individuals from the public in opposition? Department of Finance?
Yes, we'd note that the Judicial Council estimates costs between $500,000 and $740,000 annually. And the Council also notes that there would be additional one-time costs to introduce rules of the court and create a new form. And then we also note that this could result in a reimbursable state mandate.
Thank you so much. Any questions or comments from the committee members?
Just a curiosity. I noticed that this is a little bit over the threshold of what we normally have on suspense. Is there a reason why we're moving it forward?
First and foremost, the analysis that we determine what goes on suspense is from the Appropriation Committee staff. So this is minor and absorbable under our definition, and it is out. I need a motion. And
It's already been moved.
Second. This bill is out on a B roll call. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Mullen.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members.
Mr. Mullen, you have two bills with due pass recommendations. What's your pleasure?
Taking 461 first, Mr. Chair. Good morning, members. Thank you for your time today. AB 461 would allow Medicare and Medi-Cal dual eligible with developmental disabilities population in San Mateo County to voluntarily enroll in the Coordinated Care Initiative. The authorizing statutes of the CCI excluded dual-eligible individuals with developmental disabilities from enrolling. To address this population, the Health Plan of San Mateo has implemented a special needs plan that provides similar coordinated services. Unfortunately, it's become administratively costly and financially burdensome to continue operating this small program. HPSM and the local disability rights community have worked closely together and recognized the need for continuum of care through the CCI. This is a county-specific bill with no opposition. AB 461 passed out of Health Committee 17-0 and is expected to have a negligible fiscal effect. I respectfully ask for your aye vote. I have Trent Smith, Don Gilbert, Trent Smith and Kathy Mossberg to answer questions you may have.
Would they like to testify in support of? Please go ahead.
Chair and members, Kathy Mossberg representing the local health plans of California in support of the bill and happy to answer any questions.
Trent Smith on behalf of Health Plan San Mateo, one of the co-sponsors. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any witnesses or individuals from the public in support? Any witnesses in opposition? Individuals from the public in opposition? Department of Finance?
No file.
Questions or comments from the committee members? Seeing none, this bill's out on an A roll call. 477, Mr. Mullen.
Mr. Chair, members, moving on to AB 477, which will reduce the number of legitimate vote-by-mail ballots that are rejected, ensuring that fewer voters are disenfranchised. California has the highest ballot rejection rate in the country. To minimize the number of rejected legitimate ballots, AB 477 permits elections officials to gather signatures on unsigned ballots for up to 10 days after the election, and it permits elections officials to use other documents in a voter's registration file to verify the ballot envelope signature. Costs are estimated at below $30,000, are minor and absorbable to the Secretary of State. The supporters include the League of Women Voters, California Forward, and the California Voter Foundation. I respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mullen. We have a motion, a second. Witnesses in support. Individuals from the public in support. Witnesses in opposition. Individuals from the public in opposition. Department of Finance.
No file.
No file. Questions or comments from the committee members? Mr. Calderon.
And Mr. Mullen, obviously we have a problem in this state in terms of just getting people motivated to vote, and curious to hear that we are number one, of course, and another thing that is negative when it comes to rejecting ballots. When these ballots are returned unsigned, who is it the registrar recorder's responsibility to then go and contact these individuals to remind them, and how are they contacting them? Are they calling them? Are they sending them a piece of mail? And if they're sending them something by mail, does it make it within that 10-day period? And maybe did that 10-day period have something to do with the amount of time it takes to get in contact with them?
That's exactly right, Assemblyman. That 10-day window allows for, if it's a mail transaction from the registrar to the voter, notifying them that they did not sign their ballot. It allows for that signature to be made out, the form to be mailed back to the registrar, and the vote to be counted. There were 60,000 ballots that were rejected in 2012. 20,000 of those are related to signature issues, so we are erring on the side of inclusion. Those are intended votes, but the signature issues have been a persistent problem. So this gets at the signature issue as well as the those who just omitted the signature, and it just enables those votes to be counted.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any other questions or comments from the committee members? Seeing none, this bill is out on a B roll call. Thank you so much. Mr. Salas, you're up. Okay. Mr. Salas, you have a one bill with us today with a due pass recommendation, AB 1043.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Committee members, I present before you Assembly Bill 1043. Would not add costs to the state. It would simply make Interregional Route 43 eligible to compete for Interregional Transportation Improvement Program funds.
Move the bill.
Thank you. Appreciate the motion. With that and the second, I will respectfully ask for an aye vote.
We shifted hats again.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair.
Witnesses in support. Or did you already?
Yep. They weren't able to make it today.
Okay. No witnesses in support. Support folks from the audience. Anyone wishing to support? Anyone in opposition? Seeing none. Department of Finance.
Yes, the Department of Finance is opposed to this bill. Designating the state route as an interregional route could create pressure to divert limited funding from other projects that are better aligned with the interregional program. We'd note that of the $1.2 billion available for basically capacity projects in the STIP, 75% of the funding goes towards the regional routes, and only 25% goes towards the interregional routes. So this would then make this route compete for the smaller bucket of funds.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions from members? If not, do you want to close?
Yes. I'd like to just address that concern. This is an interregional route asking just to compete for interregional funds, and with that, I'd respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Thank you very much for that close. This has a due pass recommendation with Republicans on a B roll call.
All right.
You're
Thank
out.
you.
That's going to conclude everything. We take up the consent calendar.
Okay. What about Ms. Medina?
No, we took that earlier. We just did a motion to amend.
Okay. Thank you very much. Members, we're to the consent calendar. Would entertain a motion to... We have a motion and a second on the consent calendar. Is there anyone wishing any item pulled on from the consent as it's presented? I should ask that question. Seeing none, all those in favor? Looks like it passes. On an A roll call.
Since you steer the ship most of the time.
Yeah. Wait a minute. Do we have any open votes that we need to take?
We'll stay here for a few minutes.
We'll stay open for another 5 minutes to take any absent votes that may be required. Other than that, we're adjourned.